Hello! So this is the last recording of the 10 points on how to lose money in property investing. So far, we've covered 5 points on the project, on the business perspective. So we talked about the long business cycles, the risk of time exposure. We talked about alternative exit options, the value of that in uncertain markets. Talk about outsourcing judgment, which is the idea of asking a barber whether you need a haircut or not, the importance of training your own value judgment as a long-term investor. I talked about leisure versus business. So are you investing for profit or investing for some other reasons? We talked about think about supply and demand. So yes, half of the story may be great, but what's about the other half? Because really the market is formed by combining both sides of supply and demand together. And then we talked about the finance points. So we start with talking about diversification. So again, it's going to be in front of this uncertainty. It's better to diversify across different assets and different locations. And then we talk about opportunity cost. So when you consider different investment options in front of you, it's always worth to remind yourself that if you do not make this investment, the alternative is not to have cash. The alternative would be some other investment. So it's worth to have that relative consideration when you evaluate projects. And then the difference between profits and cash flow, how to survive, essentially you need cash flow. So profit may be that the day after tomorrow is great, but actually you need to bridge yourself towards that point. And then last time we talked about the importance of recognizing if the price of something is value driven or I call it debt driven. So is it finance driven? So with fundamental values, you could foreseeably you can see that over the long term, there's appreciation may be stable and you're getting real growth appreciation in your assets. Whereas if it's more price, more kind of finance debt driven, then you got a question, is this more speculative versus fundamental growth? So today we talk about the last points in the 10-point series. So this is the point number 5 in the finance section. So this is talked about the value of senior lender. And here is because we deal with a lot of investors and we also track what other developers offer to investors. And so you have this two camps where some investors would say, I want first charge. So I want that block of flats to be in my name. I don't want any debt on top. So if things goes wrong, I want to take over the entire asset. I want to own that asset. So there's first charge, but all that means is essentially they're for the same amount of funds. So for the same, let's say 1 million of cash, you can only fund a deal that's total cost is around 1 million. So you are constrained in the size of deals you can go into. However, the benefit is you have first charge, which is arguably one of the most secure form of project security you can have. And then you have another camp where you say, actually, instead of just doing everything in one project of 1 million, what if I spread it? I spread it into 3 different projects or 4 different projects, and then I'm going to allow the developer to use development finance on top of my equity. So in that case, investor will effectively have second charge. So senior lender will be brought in. They're going to come in with 65%, or 70% of senior lending compared to total cost. And then the investor or developer will fund the rest. So in this case, it's a different capital structure, and different type of investors prefer different structures. Some want that first charge, some does not want first charge. And to me, there's a lot of reasons why, to some extent, having that second structure where you spread your cash into multiple projects and you use senior lenders in each is helpful. So there's different, for example, you benefit from diversification, which we talked about a few videos ago. Also, you benefit from what I call senior lender due diligence. What that means is a developer will have its own track record, its own experience, background. It will look at projects in a certain way. So they'll have their own appraisal process, their due diligence process. Now, what that means is by the time the developer comes to you with a proposal, they think the deal will be profitable. However, it's important to realize that's what they think. Right? So it's a single perspective from a single company. Whereas if there's senior lenders involved, what a senior lender will be looking for is they will do their own appraisal, they will do their own due diligence, because they are all now have essentially skin in the game. So they want to make sure it's a good project, and also they will do due diligence not just on the project, also on the developer. So we as a developer go through a lot of that. So then you almost have this, it's almost like a 4I principle where, in the banking and the consulting world, everything somebody write in terms of financial systems, you want at least one other person to check it. So in this case, the senior lender can effectively act as quality control. So if the project can get senior finance, it will probably indicate certain level of quality, certain level of confidence, both in the project and also in the developer from a senior lender perspective. Especially if you see a developer working with the same senior lender repeatedly, that's a very useful signal to track against. Because all that means is this person has delivered in the past, and senior lender has a lot of confidence in his in the company's abilities and in the project's viability. So that's to me it's a reassurance of the likely outcome of these projects. Whereas on the other side, if you look at the projects where it's purely developers' money or developer plus investors' money, then it becomes very difficult because you quickly lose that transparency. Developer put money in, so the investor put money in, developer put money in, and then it's like the whole project is now at the entire discretion of the developer, which can be very risky because everybody makes mistakes. So there's no senior lender which comes here to overwatch the entire process. So therefore, while with senior lender, it means that investor you would likely be on second charge. However, it does have certain benefits as well. It has due diligence benefit. It has also this kind of overwatch all the way through the project benefit. And also they would bring the ability to diversify with the same amount of funds. So therefore, I would say it's worth to think about whether you insist on having a kind of a first charge on project. And also I would say, again, stepping back to human psychology, to how this hardware is fundamentally built, it's very easy for developers to be over optimistic. It's almost a requirement to some extent, because how many challenges, how things go wrong, and how you need a large degree of perseverance to deliver through in this kind of industry, especially for long projects. So therefore, if you're an investor, if you want to be a little more hands-off, I would say the answer would still be, as one of the US presidents would say, trust but verify. The problem with a lot of property investors is it's very difficult for us to verify, because you may not have the industry experience, you may not have the time. So therefore, it may be useful to have you say, okay, I trust this developer. However, I would want somebody else to verify, both before the deal starts and also during the deal. And that somebody else may as well be it could be a senior lender which has been doing this for decades and has a proper structure system in place. Okay, so that's my thinking on senior lender. It's very much of a, in banking they will say it's okay to go into any trade as long as you know what trade you're going into. So just be mindful of, yes, with senior lender you're losing that first charge, but also on the other side you're gaining all these benefits as well. Okay, so that would wrap up the 10 points on the ways to lose money in property investing. So this is the talk I delivered in Excel last weekend. I hope you find that useful. Later on, over time, if there's interest, please let our team know. Then we can kind of expand on a particular point. We can do follow-up videos on some of these areas. Or if there's anything else in your mind, feel free to give us a shout, and we will also do what we can. We do our best to share with you our kind of thinking, our insights on what's in your mind at this moment in time. Okay, have a great day, great week, great year ahead. It's been a pleasure to go through this mini series with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.